Today we're releasing patch 1.2 for Shapez 2, and whilst we've announced it being a big one for ourselves as developers due to upgrading the game engine, we'll also be bringing with it a couple of quality of life improvements to the game as well. So we'll be going over the patch notes for 1.2 and following up with another little development update for puzzles after. In our last video, we mentioned 1.2 will see us upgrade the game engine from Unity version 2022.3 to version 6000.3, and whilst it won't bring any new features to Shapez 2, it will provide our team with new features, bug fixes, and quality of life improvements to the engine and editor, which will aid us in future updates. It's a little like replacing an old house's wooden foundations with a concrete one so you can safely extend on the house, or in this case Shapez 2, for the future. Now it's also worth noting that our closed beta players have noted a lot of performance and stability problems have been resolved with this move, especially on platforms like Mac and Linux. The other major change in 1.2 is blueprint migration. Now we announced this change just before 1.0, and essentially we've now changed how blueprints get saved, making the system more robust and permanent. But this does come with the drawback that blueprints saved before 1.0's release will no longer work, so you may have to rebuild some of your older blueprints after the 1.2 patch is applied. But we do try our best to avoid any changes that affect saves like this as much as possible. Unfortunately, this one was unavoidable. Now, outside of these two changes, there are a few minor updates, such as the operator level screen now showing information about the game version that you're playing on and if the game is modded. And we've also reduced the autosave delay and made a few changes to modding, which we'll touch on shortly. On top of this, you may remember in our last video we touched on several bugs that arose from the engine upgrade, all of which have now been fixed, along with a few others such as non-aligned indicators for machine launchers and catchers, meshes for mirrored global wire transmitters, and some possible crashes if corrupt data is present in the JSON files while booting up the game. Whilst this list isn't extensive, we do feel it is another step towards where we want Shapez 2 to be, and of course there's no better time to talk about where we see it and the future of Shapez than right now in our developer update, where we'll be touching base with Lorenzo on the future of modding, followed by an update to bringing puzzles to the third dimension. Jumping straight into modding, it's been apparent after update 1.1 that our update strategy for Shapeshifter wasn't going to work for a live game. This is because when we push an update to Shapez 2, we need to have a new version of Shapeshifter uploaded alongside it to prevent all mods that use Shapeshifter from breaking. But with only one version to work from, we either need to leave Shapeshifter broken for the new release or immediately break the previous release version. However, Steam recently added an update which allows us to support branches. This, along with our patch for 1.2, now allows modders or our internal team to quickly test mods against the next version of the game, and this will minimize friction for you, the players, so that when a patch releases, the experimental Shapeshifter branch is also pushed, allowing mods that use Shapeshifter to hopefully be ready on release. Now, on top of this, we're still actively developing it to make the mod development experience better for all. One notable change we're working on is an automated canary system in the base game that detects breaking changes to the API as soon as they are found, as these issues can be slower to catch, which hopefully will add to a much smoother modding experience for all. But enough on modding, let's talk about puzzles. Back in Shapez 1, the Puzzles DLC brought the challenge of solving a shape-based puzzle through the careful placement of conveyors and buildables. Being restricted to a 2D world meant it was much easier to craft a puzzle, as solutions were limited by what machines could be placed in the limited footprint. However, transitioning this to the third dimension, such as in the world of Shapez 2, it presents a few more difficulties due to the 3 layers that are available to use. This effectively gives the player 3 times the space to build in, and many more solutions to a single puzzle, because players can use lifts to overcome any blocker as long as there are tiles available. This makes crafting challenges, well, much more challenging. You may have also noticed that unlike Shapes 1, in Shapes 2 the building footprints are smaller for our buildings and often flowing in the same direction to the inputs, and this makes placing blockers on one side invalidate the use of any building regardless of height, and as such the team have set up a little project to test out these puzzles and find solutions around them, which is what you can see in the screenshots that Christian, our head of game design, kindly provided us here. And of course, it goes without saying that this is all work in progress that you're seeing right now, but it does give you an idea as to how we approach this kind of challenge, and whilst it is challenging, it's also an exciting time for us, as we have the opportunity to start exploring possible puzzles and solutions to each level that we design. And I honestly can't wait to share more about puzzles, but for that you'll have to wait until next week, as that's all we have for today, but I promise you it's going to be juicy. Now, if you're enjoying our look into the back-end development of our games, then do make sure to subscribe, as we'll be sharing more in our future videos. But until next time, thanks for watching.